I will try, of course, to refer to your expectation, but at the beginning, let me underline very strongly that I'm not only pleased, but I'm honored to be this year with you, and I see a great difference between our discussions that we had last year and this year conference because of the complete change in your national and international environment. So those words that were spoken yesterday and our contributions today, they are addressed to you, to the brave nation, to the great nation, to the nation that decided to fight in the field for European values. And this is our admiration of what you have done during last months. Since the beginning of my public activity in Poland, I've been convinced that there is no security of my country without stability and sovereignty of Ukraine. That our securities are interlinked very deeply. Now I can say, after experiences, those lessons learned from last months, that there is no secure West without stable and sovereign Ukraine. We are fighting not only for your security, your sovereignty, and your stability, you are also responsible for the security of the West. When I say the West, I mean the EU as well as the alliance, as NATO. And I remember those words that were spoken here last year by Arseniy Yatsenyuk. He said last year, referring to the association agreement, that this is the first time, for the first time since 1654, that Ukraine has a chance to reorientate towards the West. And it was a broad historical perspective, but also the expression of a strategic thinking of your opposition here in Kyiv and of many of Ukrainians. We underestimated in the EU the role of association agreement. The EU had and has still a network of such agreements with a variety of countries. And the European approach was less strategic, more technical, more operational to such agreements. And there was a gap between your expectations connected with this treaty and our approach to this tool. I'm underlining that to show that in the European Union there is a growing consciousness of the role of this particular association agreement in the relation between the EU and your country. But what are the consequences of this visible reorientation of your foreign and security policy? Because there is no doubt in the EU and in NATO that we observe a clear reorientation of your approach. Even if one of those consequences is the loss of the control of Ukrainian state over the part of your territory, I mean Crimea. Even if there is a threat of the invasion of Russian troops in your eastern or southern regions. The main consequence, in my opinion, is that we have to put clearly two questions. The first one about our future, our current and our future relations with Russia, and the other one about the relationship with Ukraine in this field of security. When I say the West, I mean not only the EU, but also the Atlantic community. So this question, how to define our relations with Russia, refers to both international organizations, both alliances. In the current new situation, the privileged partnership between NATO and Russia seems absolutely outdated, as well as negotiations on a new PCA with Russian Federation that were suspended. That doesn't mean that the resignation from the current, I will say, infrastructure of communication with Russia. In the case of NATO, it means that I don't propose to cancel the NATO-Russia Council, but it means that we have the need for a deep change in the policy towards that country. What matters most is not what's written on the paper, in documents, but current politics that can confront Russia's aggressive attitude in the international arena, especially those attitudes which challenge the current international order and replace dialogue and cooperation with confrontation and the use of force. They lead to the restoration of Moscow dominance, at least on the part of the post-Soviet area. And as President Putin presented on the 18th of March this year, the threat of transforming Russia from the regional to the global power. My thesis is that we have to develop a smart, new policy of containment of Russian attitude, at least in 3 areas: in Eastern Europe, in Central Asia, and in the South Caucasus. A new policy, smart policy, that is based on variety of tools that we have at our disposals, not only political tools, but also economic, financial, security tools, as well as military tools, if needed. Such a comprehensive approach would engage not only the alliance, but should engage also the European Union in a very close collaboration between both sides of Brussels. I mean, this part of Brussels that is responsible for the security policy within NATO, and this part of Brussels that is responsible for economic and diplomatic policy of the European Union. Second question.
One minute, Mr.
Our attitude towards your country, towards Ukraine. I'm absolutely convinced that we have to develop also the variety of tools that are incorporated into the framework within NATO of the NATO-Ukraine Commission. We have such an opportunity to use our instrument supporting capabilities development of Ukrainian armed forces. It was included into the charter and into this channel of communication that we have since 1997. It should be developed. I'm absolutely convinced also that the association agreement will give us, I mean the EU, the chance to develop also a broad variety of such tools. So using existing institutions, I would be in favor and I would recommend to have more political initiative and to use all those institutions and tools that we have at our disposal.
Thank you very
Thanks
much.
a lot.